Africa has the best players in the world. South Africa has the best players in the world. But why can't our teams be competitive? It is because we take our best players and send them to Europe, where they end up competing with the best players all over the world, as if World Cup is being played in Europe 3 times a week. And then we wonder why European teams have so much sponsors and we don't. It is like as if World Cup is played 3 or 4 times a week in Europe. That is why they attract sponsors. We don't have sponsors because whenever we got a best player, he goes to Europe. Then we are left with average or below average players. It is like when you are selling tomatoes. You take your best tomatoes you give to your neighbor. Then you are left with rotten tomatoes, and you wonder why customers don't come to you. Our teams don't attract sponsors because our teams don't have the best players. The best players we send to Europe. And without those best players, they don't perform well. And they cannot attract spectators and supporters. Then why do we expect business people to sponsor team which doesn't have supporters? A team which can only fill 30 spectators in a stadium that is having the capacity of 100,000. It is like selling rotten tomatoes, and you take the best you give to your neighbors, and then you wonder why you don't have customers. We should not send our best players to Europe because we make European leagues competitive, and then our leagues are below average. If we keep our players, our best players in the country, in our countries, then we will attract sponsors, and the clubs will be able to pay them competitive wages. But when we send them away, we also send away the sponsors, and then we complain why we don't have sponsors, why we cannot pay them competitive wages. We need to keep our best players. That is why Europe does not send its best players to South America or to Asia or to Africa. They keep them, and on top of that, they take other people's workers, players. Countries need to keep their players. Then they will attract sponsors, and then they will be able to pay them competitively. But when you send them away, you are also sending away the spectators. And when you send spectators away, there's no need for investors for sponsors to sponsor your team when it doesn't have a following. It is like with the national teams. In Africa, we have teams. We were teams that doesn't have national pride. It starts with the coach. We hire a foreign coach. Why should we hire? If you cannot hire a foreign players to play in your team, in your national team, why should you hire foreign coaches? Imagine South Africa is playing against France, and we have got a French coach. Which team do you think he really supports? Do you think he will be happy when French, which is his national team, is losing? Just think about it. Let us be honest. Let us use common sense. Let us use logic. If you are fighting against a boxer, and the other person, and the coach is that boxer's father, do you think he will really want you to win? You will really want you to beat his child? No. Every country must use its own citizen as a coach who will have national pride, who will fight to the end. If we cannot have foreign players playing for national teams, we should not have foreign coaches. There's a reason why we don't employ foreign players to play for our team. So it's coaches. We must develop our own coaches who have got national pride. It is the same with having a president who is the president of two different countries. The president is the president of the Republic of Nkanja and the Republic of South Africa. If these countries, Republic of Nkanja and the Republic of South Africa, ever goes to war, which team will he support when his best place is in Nkanja? He will love South Africa to lose. He will love Nkanja to win, Republic of Nkanja to win. Therefore, it is crucial that we must have, just as it is crucial to have a coach who is a citizen, we must also have a president who is a citizen, who will fight to the to death, tooth and nail to the death, to defend the country with national pride. Therefore, when we send players away, we end up having players, the best players being put on the bench for 5 years in Europe, being paid well, but when they come back, we want them to play. And whoever develops in the local league, we send them away. Then they're put on the bench because they are competing for one position with many players. We can have the best player, we send him to Europe, and when he gets to Europe, he's put on the bench. Then when he cannot play anymore, he's put back. It's not different from buying a player. There are teams that buy best players from other teams because they've got money. Then they put them on the bench. Just to make sure that those teams cannot be competitive, so that they must beat those teams. If they know that goalkeeper, that midfielder, that striker is good, they buy him and put him on the bench so that team must be weak. That is what the Europeans are doing. They take our players and put them on the bench so that they must not be match fit. So when we play, Europe is always winning the World Cups. We must think about it, and we must do the right thing. Just as countries are not allowed to field foreigners in their national teams, we should not have foreign coaches. We must develop our own coaches, and we must stop sending away players to play overseas. That's why we don't have sponsors, and we end up being uncompetitive. We have to think. We use our heads. Our heads are not to decorate us, to be able to think for ourselves.